starts with you, only you. A cosmic dance, the truth so true. From the ether to the earthly plane, all you seek, you can attain. The quantum flow, the light you hold, creates the story that will unfold. Every thought and step you make, the universe is yours to take. It starts with you, the mirror's hue, infinite skies reflecting you. From the void, you birth the light. Through the shadows, your soul takes flight. The winds will shift, its timeless bend. Every cycle begins again. Your energy builds, it flows, it streams, aligning rims, igniting your dream. Each vibration, each sacred sound, a universe moves resound. You are the spark, divine and true, illuminating. It's all you do. Just remember, it starts with you, the mirror's hue, infinite skies reflecting you. From the void, you birth the light. Through the shadows, your soul ignites. The path within, the path divine. Through space, your world aligns. Every rise, every fall, you're connected to it all. It starts with you, the quantum view, manifesting dreams like the morning dew. From the stillness, creation flows. Through the darkness, your spirit knows. It starts with you, only you. Through dimension, through the veil, the sacred truth, and you prevail. Now infinite, clear, and true. This road ahead, it's made for you. It all begins and ends with you. Even the chaos, through the flame, you rise anew, never the same. Every heartbeat, every sign weaves your essence, soaring high. The cosmos bends to your command. Creation blooms within your hand. It starts with you, only you, only you. It starts with you.
Welcome into the space, family. Happy Tuesday. Come in and hold space with us tonight. We're going to get in here and hold some beautiful space tonight. Say hello as y'all get in the building. We're vibing tonight. And we're taking our time. Topic tonight, rags to riches. Let me turn this down just a little bit. We're going to get our disclosures on the way as we get this thing started tonight. As you come in, say hello. Welcome. We're going to get our disclosures on the way. I share my experiences on my journey to healing. I am a certified life coach, and my mission is simple: to restore the knowledge of self rooted in balance, truth, justice, reciprocity, and divine knowing. And that's whatever shows up in me. The beautiful thing is you don't have to abandon everything that you've been taught to receive what's available. Access is already in you as well. Now, let me remind you of something powerful, and I quote, "The works you see me do, you can also do, and more powerful works than these." How can I do this, Ty? You ask. By gaining the power from within. So while you're waiting on Jesus, lend me your mean time. Because if you don't recognize your responsibility in this process, everything you do is useless. So if it don't apply, let it fly. If some apply and some don't, eat the meat and spit out the bones. If it all applies, eat it all and apply the knowledge. We're going to be tying in tonight. Topic tonight is rags to riches. And we're here for a short time, not a long time. We're a little bit late tonight because I had some technical difficulties, but I got it figured out and we're ready and we reset. But before we do that, we're going to be setting some intentions tonight. Y'all say hello as y'all get in the building. But we're going to take a moment and I invite you into this space. So take a deep breath with me as we go on the journey of unfold. Allow yourself for a moment to just slow down and pay attention to what you're noticing. Pay attention to the things that you sweep under the rug. Notice what's going on with you. What have you been chasing? What were you told success is? What does your life feel like from the inside? Sit with that because I know oftentimes we don't think about those things. What does it feel like from the inside of you? And I want you to step into that awareness for a moment because the intention for the space is to bring you into alignment, to recognize how your thoughts, how your words, how your actions and what you consume, meaning what you eat, are shaping your experience. So as we move through this unfolding tonight, I want you to pay attention. Pay attention to your thoughts and the things that I say tonight, where it take those places that it takes you to. And pay attention if it's building or it's breaking you down. Pay attention if the words, do they match what you say you want? Pay attention to your actions. Are they aligned or just reactions? And pay attention to what you're feeding yourself. That's mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, because all that matters. So we set the intention tonight to become aware of what we've been feeding into our lives, recognizing that we've been out of balance through understanding. Because rags is not about what you don't have. Rags is when everything within you is pulling you in a different direction than where you want to go. And the riches is in when your mind, your body, your words, and your action move in unison, in coherence. That's where you find the luxury that you've been searching for. So as we enter this space, I ask for you to stand open, aware, and willing to see things clearly. And in this, everything that's mine is going to start with me. And what's yours starts with you. I want you to say with me, and so it is. Setting those intentions, family, is so important. Whole tip. So welcome into this space. Happy Tuesday. We got started a little bit late, but we're still here. So I welcome you into the space where it starts with you, where my name, if you're new coming into the space, my name is Ty Simatawi, and I welcome you into this space where it starts with you and nobody else. Where we don't place any shame, we don't do any blame or judgment. However, we do hold ourselves one another accountable. But here in this space, we do a lot of things differently. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. We do things a lot different. But come and hold space, kick off your shoes, relax your feet. And we're going to be expanding tonight. And if something comes up while you're in this space, if something resonates with you, put it in the chat. If you're a little bit shy and you want to remain anonymous and you rather send it to my inbox, send it over to my inbox and I'll hold space with you on your behalf at a separate time. So we're going to get into it because last week we unpacked the topic on earth as it is in heaven. And we began to understand that heaven is not a place that we go. It's a state that we come into. It's a state that we come into. And what happens when, what's in us comes into order. We look at all the things, the thoughts, our words, our actions, are no longer in conflict. And when that happens, we stop chasing peace and we start experiencing it. So this week, we got questions. We got a lot of questions. Ty is going to put the questions that you don't want to ask. She's going to ask those questions for you. And I love that for us. And we're building on what we built. Everything that we do is in this space is going to connect. And we're building on what we talked about last week. The topic tonight is rags to riches. Now, most of you guys will hear that and think money. You know, you will think the tangible things. But we're going to slow it down tonight, because that phrase, rags to riches, is deeper than that. Now, it does come from the idea of moving from lack to abundance with the tangible things, from having nothing to having everything. But what if, family, and I want you guys to sit with this, what if we've only been looking at this from the outside? Because rags at its core is something that is worn, torn, out of order, no longer whole. But you know, Ty, I won't stay there, because I have to move metaphysically. I have to look at these things beyond physical. So what metaphysically does rags look like? It's when your inner world is out of alignment. Say it the way they know it, Ty. You know I'm going to say it the way you know it. A house divided against itself will not stand. Welcome to the space. A house divided against itself will not stand, and anything that's divided cannot function properly. And we should all know that since we were children. So now that we know we're not talking about money, we're free to be expanding ourselves. We're talking about order. We're talking about the things that show up, because, you know, whenever there is disorder, there will also be struggle. There will be confusion and inconsistency, not because something is wrong with you, but because there's things that are out of place. Now, if you look at it clearly, rags starts to show up in your patterns, in your behavior, in your thoughts, in those negative self-doubt talks that you have with yourself. Welcome in, beloved. Thank you for sharing that. Those self-doubts, in my words, I'm going to say, tearing yourself down internally and not knowing, speaking against what you want in your actions as inconsistency, reacting instead of choosing, and in what you consume, what you're eating, what you're taking into your body. We're taking in things that don't build you, that don't nourish you. Those are the rags that we're unpacking tonight. And that's the disorder. And that's true, Ty. Then why is it that, I have all the things, the nice cars, the nice house, then all the things, and still I feel like something's missing? Why is that? Because on paper, everything looks right. You got that, 780 credit score, but internally something doesn't feel settled. You're warring on the inside of yourself and you just can't figure it out. Why is this happening to me? That's what we're sitting with tonight. No amount of external success is going to will ever feel like luxury until you are full, whole, and complete. And we're going to talk about luxury a lot tonight. What does that look like? Peace to you, beloved. We're going to be unpacking all those things that unsettle us tonight. Thank you for sharing that. That takes bravery to share that. Why does this even matter, Ty? Why are we even talking about this? Because if you don't understand this, you will build your entire life on something that feels normal, but it's actually out of order. You'll keep calling it one thing when it's another, just because it's familiar. We're so used to the chaos in our lives. We've normalized it. We start to numb to those feelings and what shows up in that because it's familiar. I understand, beloved. I truly do. And as you go through out your life, you start calling those things peaceful because you've learned how to function in that chaos. And underneath that, you're still tired. You're still stretched, still carrying more than you should. And you won't ever question it because it's working temporarily. You get a temporary fix. And what you're familiar with feels good because your brain is wired to seek what it already knows. So if you're tired, your brain is so used to feeling that. Thank you, beloved. So you'll just be like, okay, just a little bit of pressure off. It creates a quick sense of relief, even if it's not actually helping you. So when you hear the same message over and over again, like you do it when you go to church, in religion, and whatever your thing is, your nervous system settles for a moment because it recognizes it. That temporary fix is just like an addict. It's not real healing. It's good for a moment, but as soon as you leave the doors, as soon as you leave that place, you still feel that void. And that relief from discomfort, and your system learns to keep going back to what really feels familiar instead of what is freeing to you. Tonight, that's why this matters. Oh, that's what we're unpacking tonight, beloved. This is going to be so important and freeing for you to stay in this space. And it's time to hold some intimate space with this, because these are the things that people don't say out loud. And these are the things that people don't have solutions for. They just tell you to pray about it. Just push it down. You'll be okay. It's going to be better after a while. And that's not what we do over here. We hold ourselves accountable for how we show up in these spaces. And that's why this matters, because you can spend years, you can spend your lifetime building a life that looks right, that moves right, that even flows, and still wake up one day and realize this doesn't feel like me and I feel stuck. We don't even recognize that we can still do something about it. We used to sing this song in church. It was, "While the blood is still warm in my veins." And I bet no one has ever, when you come to this space where it starts with you, you're not going to get this anywhere else. While the blood is still warm in my veins. And I bet you nobody has ever given you the true meaning of what that means. That means that it's not too late right now to fix it. Whatever it is. I don't care what it is. Sickness, whatever yours is. Put it in the chat what yours is. It's never too late while the blood is still warm in your veins. One of my mentors always gets on there. He talks about these telomeres that we have in our bodies. And we think that, the time is definite. But these telomeres actually determine how long you can actually extend your life. These are the things we got to be tapping into, because nothing is final. But that doesn't work, family. When you're not a willing participant in the system that is causing your downfall, where everything around you is built from that place of lack, your choice, your relationship, your routines, whatever yours is. Come on. All built on something you've never stopped to question. Ain't that something? These things, we never stop and just be curious about. So this isn't just information. This is awareness. This is you becoming aware, beloved. This is you saying, okay, I don't feel right. Something is not right with me and I don't know what it is. That's awareness. Now it's time to sit with it so we can discover and unpack what it is. Because once you see it, you shouldn't want to unsee it unless you are complicit. So you have a choice now. Right now, today, when you're saying I haven't felt easy about something, I don't feel the right way about something, you have a choice. They used to say, will I live or will I die? What's your choice? Do you keep building on familiarity, or do I start checking for what's actually true? The difference is between life, the living the life part that looks good, and living a life that actually feels like you. And that's why this conversation is necessary. So now we have to take this step, a lot of steps forward, because it's one thing to hear it. It's another thing to see it within yourself, or for somebody to help you see it in them so that you can see the reflection in them in your own life. So how do I know if this is me, Ty? Peace, beloved. You came to the right place tonight. How do I know if it's me? Or if this is just something I've gotten used to dealing with all my life? I'm living somebody else's life. The answer to that, family, is not outside of you. Even your text tells you, it says the kingdom of God cometh without observation. Neither shall they say, lo here, lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. It's in your body. It's in how your life feels. Because your body will always tell you the truth before your mind tries to explain it away. Your body's going to say to you, I feel tight right now. I feel uneasy. Do you feel like you have to hold everything together? This is what your body is going to tell you. Do you have to hold everything together for everybody else? Or does my body feel supported? Do you feel like you can reset? Or do you feel like something, will fall apart if you stop? In that lies your answer. Because what's familiar often feels normal, but normal is not the same as alignment. And this is a part of what we miss. You don't stay stuck because it's right. You stay stuck because it's familiar. And that's how you trauma bond to people. That's how you stay in the same circles. That's how you keep those same relationships, because it's familiarity. So now let's bring it back. Because this is what I've been calling rags. Rags is not just lack. Rags is disorder. It's when one part of you is saying, keep going, while another part of you is saying, this is too much. It's when your thoughts are in one direction, your actions are in another. And your body is carrying the weight of both. That's the division that we're unpacking tonight, the misalignment. And as long as as long as that's happening, you can build, you can achieve, you can produce, but it will never feel like luxury, because luxury is not what you have. It's when nothing inside of you is working against you. And until you check that at the door, you'll keep calling something right that your body has been trying to tell you is out of order the whole time. God is trying to tell you something. We take these things for granted when we say these things. So now that we see that, the next question is, how do we shift? How do I move from the rags into riches? So before we get into that tonight, I want to start with a moment of self-reflection. Because this topic didn't just come out of thought. It came from Dr. Simatawi and I conversing about this for the last few days, and I've just been holding on to it. I think I was supposed to do it on Sunday, but I'm gonna do it tonight. That's so good. And based on what we were talking about, I started asking myself some real questions. What does peace actually feel like in my life? You guys sit with that. What does peace feel like in your life? And I know it may be a hard question to even think about. Write it down. Whatever you need to do. What does peace look like in your life? And if I'm being honest, that wasn't an easy question for me. Because when I really looked at it, I realized I've spent most of my life in survival mode. Always scanning, always thinking ahead, always trying to stay on top of the next thing, trying to catch something before it happened. The next person I thought was trying to get over on me. Come in and hold space with us, beloved. The next bill, the next responsibility, the next situation. I got to fix my car next week, thinking about my kids, thinking about my family, making sure everything is held together. And somewhere in all of that, I never really gave myself permission to just have peace. Not for a moment. And I sat with that. Why am I in such a place of chaos within me? Now, over the past 6 years, I've experienced moments of peace, little pockets of peace. And I had to examine what changed, what showed up now that I can start to get these little hits of peace showing up in pockets. And when I sat with that, I realized something. The thing that I was thinking was peace. It wasn't those cars. It wasn't those things. It wasn't because everything around me was perfect. It was something internal, something I couldn't touch, something I couldn't show people. And that made me question everything. And that's a scary place to be, to question. I got to question everything now. Because if those moments of peace didn't come from what I had, all those things, then what was it? And if I've only experienced it, in pieces, what would it look like to live in it full, whole, and complete? And that's where this came from. So tonight, before we go any further, I want you to sit with what I just said to yourself. With this question, let me give it to you this way. I'm going to say it again. Internal contentment. Peace, beloved. When was the last time you felt peace? Put that in the chat. No distractions. Not the temporary relief where, it feels good for a moment. Just a little bit. Because that answer is going to matter for where you're going tonight. Now, let me give you a quick synopsis of what we're talking about tonight. We're going to break down some of the things. One of them is luxury. What luxury is, and not what you've been taught to see on the outside. We're not going to be talking about that tonight. Oh, that's okay. The blood is still running warm in your vein, beloved. So we're making some changes tonight. Come on, I'm in luxury. We're not talking about what we have on the outside, what it actually feels like on the inside. Put it in the chat. What does it feel like on the inside? What is luxury on the inside of you? I'm not talking, don't put those tangible things that you can go out and purchase. I'm talking about peace. I'm talking about joy. I'm talking about happiness. Put it in the chat what yours is. Come on. Calm, light. It feels like, come on. We're unpacking the difference between living from the outside in versus the inside out. And you will know the unseen things from the things that are seen, and good, including the Godhead. So if you have that self-love, which is high in frequency, beloved, I don't want to butcher your name. I'm sorry, AKA self-love. Whoever put the self-love, I won't butcher your name. That's high frequency vibrations. If you tapped into love, that's beautiful. How can you have everything externally together and still be internally a mess? That's not how it works. How to recognize if you're operating from pressure or peace, and most importantly, what it actually looks like to bring your life into alignment where your thoughts, self-mastery, emotional control. I love what y'all giving me tonight. Like I said, some of those moments of peace don't show up in those things that we're talking about now. In your words, in your actions, and what you feel, you're no longer working, against one another. Because that's the goal. The goal is alignment. The goal is enlightenment. Emotional control. I love that. And when that happens, you don't just look like you have a good life. You experience it. People can see it when you walk in a room. It radiates outwardly. Your aura, your vital body shows it to me, shows it to the world. That's what we're calling luxury. And that's metaphysical. And that's what we're unpacking tonight, family. We've been given this picture of what life is supposed to look like. And it's all an illusion. Come on. Things make you feel happy for a moment, but that's what we're tuning into tonight, is to see what outside of that physical things that make it good for a moment. We're talking about the things that's going to last. That's what we're talking about. That illusion is only going to show you outside, but it never teaches you how to experience yourself on the inside. What to have, what to build, what to achieve from the inside, what to become. They give you the house, the car, the career, the image, the relationship, a script, a life that can be seen, measured, and approved. It's what they show you. But here's why that's an illusion. Because you can have all those things and still feel empty, still feel tired, still feel something is missing. So if it's real, it would produce peace, but it doesn't. It produces pressure. So what pressure does, it actually produces so many things. And I hope y'all got time tonight, because I decided I'm going to take my time and expand what this pressure produces. I'm going to name some things. You put it in the chat. It affects come on. You speaking my lingo tonight. Y'all speaking my lingo tonight. We have no idea of what shows up. I got time too. Thank you. Thank you, beloved. We got time. And we're going to take our time. It's not just one kind of pressure that shows up. It shows up in layers. The pressure to keep it together is a layer. You feel like you can't fall apart because everything and everybody is depending on you. The pressure to perform, to look right, to sound right, to say the right things, to do the right things, to be perceived a certain way. I got to wear this certain thing. Even when, I'm not okay, I got to still suck it up. I have to bite my tongue. I have to turn the other cheek. Tired. The pressure to maintain, because once you build it, now you got to keep it up. I bought this house. Now I got to pay the insurance. Not only insurance, I got to pay, my homeowners association. Then that comes with the lawn service. I got to, once one thing breaks, now it's another. Same thing with my car. My car now gave out on me. I got to put it in the shop. I got to pay all the things. But you got the image, the lifestyle, the expectations now. Then you got the pressure to prove you made it, to prove you're doing well, to prove you're enough, the pressure to not slow down. But you have to start pausing in these moments. We have to start pausing in these moments to start feeling what we've been ignoring, what we've been pressing down. So in order to override it, you stay busy. Not because you need to, but because you don't want to feel it. I'm afraid if I sit with myself and I don't examine these things, then you got the pressure to ignore yourself. That voice that says this doesn't feel right, and I'm so tired. But you silence that. Thank you. Thank you. Shout out to my loctician, Devin, over in Cedar Hill. She does a beautiful job. Thank you. Family, if you listen to it, something might have to change. That's what we're afraid of. Thank you. And that's uncomfortable. I know it's uncomfortable because I lived it. So you're carrying all this stuff. This is why Erica's called it bag lady. And we never say, we just think about this lady got a bag on her back and it's heavy. No, this is all your shit. All of the stuff that you brought from your past relationship, all the stuff that you bought from your childhood trauma, all the things that happened to you when you was a baby, all these things, that's your baggage. And you're carrying all that stuff while still trying to live this picture. My part is that when I say you're still trying to keep up with it. I say these old-fashioned things, but it's the truth. The illusion. Keep up with the Joneses is what we used to say. Come on, bag lady. You're toting around all that stuff. And it's heavy. It's heavy. And it's not because you're just living life, you're managing an image. And that is just pressure in itself. Topic tonight is rags to riches. I gotta get my vibe going. My music ain't right. I gotta get myself together. And if you've ever had a moment where everything looked right, but something inside of you said it doesn't feel right, then you already know what I'm talking about. But something inside of you is calling you back to that little child that you abandoned, to that wife that lost herself at the altar. And it's all because, something was missing from that picture we were given. And if we're being honest, nobody ever taught us what it's supposed to feel like to be in alignment, to actually live in peace and harmony and truth. Why is that, Ty? You got to ask your people that. I don't know what yours is, but we all have something in common. Because the focus was, at that time, they didn't know anything about alignment. They knew, what they were taught. And what they were taught was appearance. And anything built on appearance has to be maintained. It has to be protected. And your text gives you a powerful example of this. What does it say that at Ty? I got you, sis. Brothers, I got you. I remember, I unpacked this story in detail a while back, long time ago. But I'm going to give you a synopsis because you weren't there. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis and run through. But there was this wedding, and it was in the text. And when I use this text, I'm using it to demonstrate a point, not as if it really happened, right? So there was this banquet, and this king hosted this banquet. He sent out invitations to, and everything. Nobody showed up. They were too busy. They were too distracted. They were caught up in their own lives. So the king says, he sent his people out. He sent, everybody out. He said, go out. Go out into the highways, into the byways. Invite everybody. Fill this wedding, this ceremony up with people. Just bring them in. I don't care where they from, what walks of life they show up from. Bring them all. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, all kinds of people. Bring them all. You come. All of y'all. Now watch this. When the king came in, he saw one man. The man was in the room, but something didn't match the dress code. He didn't have on the proper garment, and I'm using that word loosely, but pay attention. And one would think, if you read this, that he was out of dress code. His garment, that's what one would think. But you have to understand what we're doing now. We're thinking beyond physical. All right? So we're going to work into that. Because that's what I think. That's what I thought. It was dirty. Beautiful. But he told them to invite everybody. So if you tell me to invite everybody, I should have some expectations that some people are going to show up dirty. Some people ain't going to have on the right garments. You told me to bring them all. So surely he couldn't have just been looking at the clothes. We're going to be using our African minds to think tonight. And that's what Ty brings into the space. And the king asked him, how did you get in here? Like in this state that you're in, whether it was a dirty garment? Come on. Whether he had on the wrong garment, and the man had nothing to say. Now we got to slow that down because he was invited. He had access. He made it into the room. Everything on the outside said, I belong here. But internally, he was not prepared. He was not aligned. And that's why he couldn't respond, because you can be in position and still be out of order. That's my aunt. Heart. Come on, Ty. You can be in the room and still not be in alignment. And that's the illusion, because we've been taught, if I made it here, I must be good. If I have it, I must be right. And that's a lie. I'm telling you, just because you get picked or just because you're in the room doesn't mean that you're right. But the story shows you it's not about access. It's not about appearance. Again, it's about alignment. You're not tuned in properly. So now we have to ask ourselves, am I just in the room? Or am I actually in order with myself? Because until that matches, you'll keep showing up to spaces. You'll keep showing up to parties. You'll keep showing up to church. You'll keep showing up to events. You'll keep showing up on your job. You'll keep showing up to them family gatherings. You'll keep showing up. You'll keep showing up to those places that your inner world is not prepared to sustain. Come on. That's what it is. Thank you for sharing that, beloved. Come on. And that's where those pressures come from. Tonight, we're talking about luxury. We're talking about the rags to riches, but not in the way that we've been taught to see it. Because when most people hear that luxury, they think about those things. They think they're going to look at what was the brother weighing. That's why he was put out. But tonight, we're going beyond those tangible things into the metaphysical things. The word luxury comes from the root excess, abundance, something beyond basic needs. So what is it to be luxurious beyond physical? Y'all put it in the chat. You said peace. I seen somebody said love. I seen somebody said clarity. Somebody, it's stability, it's rest, it's alignment without force. That's luxury. Not just having enough to get by, going from paycheck to paycheck. It says you should be the lender and not the borrower. That's what it says. But having the overflow within yourself. I never understood overflow this way. I never understood that until I started knowing for myself. Abundance. We've had it wrong all this time. It's not that you have extra, but you have the peace with it. But here's what we missed. Luxury was never about what you have. It's about how you experience life. Because, when you find luxury within self, you find the peace that surpasses all understanding. How many of you can say that you've experienced peace that surpasses understanding, or even if you know what it means? That's the kind of peace Ty wants to be a part. I want to be a part of this type of peace. Wait, come back again. Holding space. That's what it's about. It's about holding the space. It's not about the coins. I have, when my mom passed away last month. Sorry, condolences for your loss, beloved. Come on, I want that peace 24/7. I want to butcher your name. Is it Akela? And the beads? I want that type of peace too. And you know what? You can't buy that. You can't fake it either. So now we have that thing again. Are we living from the outside in or the inside out? If you're not experiencing that, we need to be starting to Akela. I hope I said it right that time. Thank you, beloved. Most of us didn't, beloved. We didn't understand it. We just went along with it because that's what they said do. And just because you have that mention, and I see it all the time, doesn't mean you have access, the internal luxury. That's that moment again. What moment, Ty? You remember that man that I said? Didn't I, do all the things in your name? I casted out the demon. I prophesied in your name. And the response was still, I knew you not. So all that is showing is you can't do everything right on the outside and still be disconnected on the inside. So how do you know that, Ty? How do you know if my intentions are aligned? It shows up in what you do. It shows up in your actions. Grief is heavy, been there and still in it, unfortunately. That's okay. It's okay to grieve. But the peace comes with you don't have to stay there. You should be able to come and go as you please. I thought I was crazy or numb. No, we don't claim that. Tonight we're working to bring back that feeling when we were numb, and we set the intentions to do that in the beginning, and that's what we're doing tonight. And we set, we setting the intentions, and we're gonna be in alignment with it, and it's gonna show in what you do. Let me give you an example of what it looks like. If you haven't recognized it, or if you don't know it in yourself, it looks like being an attention seeker. The one that always needs to be seen. We all know those type of people. We've all been there. That's not peace, that's pressure. So let's look at something that might challenge what we think is luxury. So when I think about, peaceful people, I think about the monks, what they set themselves up to do and what they take themselves up to do. And Dr. Simatawi was gonna, he was gonna be on this journey of going to Thailand. And he still may do it. We hadn't talked about it recently, but we had, did some research, and we was learning about, how they prepare and what we needed to do to get him prepared, and we learned a lot about what they do on the outside. They don't have, what we call luxury. They ain't worried about the flashy things, the cars, the houses, the excess of things. They actually prepare for a kind of peace that's intentional. A lot of them cut their hair and their eyebrows because it's not about just appearances. It's about detaching from those physical things. That will be peaceful. Water is definitely, the elements are peaceful. Go and put your feet, walk on the beach. I don't know where you're located, but I found one of the most peaceful things that I've done is to go and walk with my feet in the sand and in the water on the ocean. Oh man, when I say something just felt renewed and I just felt charged, go put your feet in the grass. But these people, they were detaching from the physical things, letting go of the identity, the images, letting go of how they were seen. Because their hair, their image, their presentation, that's all those things are tied to ego and tied to identity and external validation. Those things are tied to that. So cut it. When I first cut my hair off, I cut it as short as I have ever had it 3 years ago. And I was so nervous about it. And my partner say, it's gonna be something spiritual for you. And I never understood what that was. I started over from scratch. My hair, it was short. It was really short. You go back down my timeline, you can see it. Welcome in, Doc. I was just talking about you. And I had to detach from the identity of that I had to be a certain way. Well, see, how did that feel for you, beloved? And they had to come to the knowing, and I come to the knowing Two, we're getting rid of the eyelashes and all the extra, the contacts, freedom. Come on. The contact lenses, because I was wearing gray contact lenses. I was packing on the makeup. I was doing all the things for the sake of that. And I had to go back and say, well, that's the only reason I was doing it, because I was in a place of, I was lost. But beyond that, their preparation and my preparation is deeper. They live a simplified life, so they can have less distractions, less noise, less things pulling at them. They train their mind through meditation, through stillness and observation, learning how to watch their thoughts instead of being controlled by them. They practice discipline. They're eating intentionally. They're speaking intentionally. They move intentionally, not reacting, but choosing. They reduce attachment, not needing constant stimulation, not chasing pleasure, not avoiding discomfort. And they say that healing is on the other side of that discomfort. And what does all that do? It creates spaces of peace. Hey, I'm all for it. I would love that. But we got to create those spaces of peace, of peace. And with that, in those spaces, you'll find that clarity. And in that too, awareness will show up. That's the preparation. But removing everything that keeps you divided within yourself. So let me say this. You don't have to shave your head. I'm not telling anybody to go out and shave your head, to do this work that I'm talking about. But you do have to ask, what am I holding on to that's keeping me in this noise, in this chaos? What identity am I protecting that's costing me my peace? So the question becomes, how can someone with less feel more at peace than someone with everything? Because what they've done is not just remove the things, they remove that noise. They're not constantly proving something. Their life is structured around discipline, presence, and showing up and being present in the moment. And that produces a quiet and regulated mind. And I love that. One night, Doc and I was riding, and we seen this monk walking. As we rode by, we could tell that this brother was, worn within himself. And how could I tell that? Because the brother had a cigarette. And I know we must have laughed for hours. And it stood out not because of judgment, but because it didn't match what peace looks like. Smoking a cigarette it's about relief. Your body is, easing withdrawal and tension from a moment. So, it feels calming for the moment, and all the other things that we do, it feels calming for a moment, but it doesn't bring your system into true balance. Peace doesn't depend on something outside of you to regulate you. It comes from a state where your body and your mind are already at ease within, without needing a quick fix. Now, last week, I know that we unpacked how, we need to go and get our blood checked so that we can check for these imbalances in our hormones that can be affected as well. So we need to be going to get these things checked. And that's the point, because we've been taught to look for all these quick fixes that gives us that cures, that treats the symptoms instead of curing what's wrong. And a lot of what's showing up that's wrong is because we're afraid of what happens in the dark. And I'm not talking about a dark room, I'm talking about inside. those temporary things instead of checking the alignment. And I know Ty, when she comes on here, she asks a lot of questions. She actually says a lot of things, but it's needed. We need this. We need to be asking questions because real luxury is how you live with yourself when nobody is watching. And if right, I can give you all the books in the world, and I'm telling you, it will still be difficult. And I know this for myself because I tried it for myself. And tonight, that's what we're unpacking. And we're going to slow it down a bit and actually look at where the phrase come from. Because I want to give us the education. Because oftentimes we assume that people know things. And I try to stop and I try to refrain from doing that. They must know. They have to know. I try to refrain from that. So rags to riches. Where did this even come from? Why did you get this topic? Why did you pick this? And I won't tell you why. I gave you a little bit of reason where the inception came from, but I'm going to unpack the theory of where it originated from. This didn't start with motivation. It came out of the 1800s. They were telling stories. One of the stories they used to tell was called Raggedy Dick. It was about a poor boy living in hardship, working his way through discipline, all the things, that come with hardship, not having food to eat, all the things. And then he becomes successful. And the idea was simple. You start with nothing, you work, you struggle, and at the end of it, you end up with everything. And over time, that became the blueprint of the underdog story. And everybody loves a good underdog story, even with the sports we watch, everything we watch. We love when we see people get it out the mud. Get the money, get the house, get the life. And that's what we were taught that riches look like. But think about that for a moment. We take something that meant to show a principle and made it literal. We take the story and just forget about the essence of where it originated from. So instead of asking, what is this really pointing to? We settle for, how do I copy what I see? How can I be the best copycat I can be? It's all right when you're copying the right cat. Thank you. But we ain't copying the right cat because we ain't even going back to the origin of what this information was plagiarized from. So it's wrong. We're gonna throw it in the trash. Not even the trash. We're gonna take it to the landfill so it can't be recovered. Because what they gave us was external instead of internal. And internal looks like a order, alignment, wholeness. And we did the same thing with the text. We took it literal, and we have no idea the damage that this thing causes in our lives, in our families' lives. And it's non-effective right now today. And one of the reasons that I share these experiences and I come and hold space with this, and I'm so passionate about it, is because I'm literally rewiring myself. Because once something gets wired into you, it's not easy just to let it go. Even when you realize it's not true, it's not easy. And I went back to the first time I thought about this idea. I went back to my history and I thought about the first time I heard scripture, and it told me a story about a camel. It was easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. And I didn't understand it, but my mind created a picture, it created imagery. And my body felt confused. Something didn't sit right. And instead of it being explained, I was told to accept it. You was told that too. But we're not going to worry about that tonight. But now I understand what actually happened in that at that time. My nervous system reacted first. My body felt something. Then my mind tried to make sense of it. That's where all the imagery came from. And because there was no clarity, it stored it in my memory. Now I got this idea. And I think about what if really, if somebody had explained it, if they said, don't take this literally, this is about attachment. It's about what has control over you. This is about being weighed down internally. It would have changed everything. Because now my body wouldn't have, it wouldn't have stored fear where awareness should have been. It would have understood this is about freedom, relief. It's about alignment. And that, my friend, is where luxury shows up. Topic tonight, rags to riches. Now what you have, how free you are within yourself. Because when something is explained in truth, your body settles and it says, when my sheep hear my voice, there's no tension or confusion. And because God is not the author of confusion, you won't be under pressure to be, to force to be understanding those things. You could just ask questions. And that's what we were given. We were given a narrative. We were given words. So now you grow up holding on to feelings that you never even questioned, that you never even thought, well, maybe I should be asking some questions over here. Even if you thought about it, you was prevented from asking. Now you're living in a pattern we never choose. What would have shifted in you if you were taught the truth instead of told to accept what I didn't understand or you didn't understand? Because that shift is the difference between pressure and peace, and that peace surpasses all understanding. And that image that came to my mind was literal. It was impossible, and I just knew it. A camel through the eye of a needle, really, Ty? You mean to tell me right now you still think that, and I don't? But you just think about it. Under those conditions, would you even want to become rich? If somebody told you it would be easier for that to happen than you to get into heaven, if you want to go to riches, would you even want it? Y'all still be wanting it, don't you? I know you do. But that's the confliction that it causes, and that's the confusion that it causes. And if in my mind, richness, welcome in. Thank you. Hello. In my mind, richness, meant separation from peace, distance from God. And I couldn't, get into heaven. And I'm not saying, and I'm not talking about sky daddy when I say that. I'm talking about, being blocked from entering into ease or as on earth as it is in heaven. That's what I'm talking about. Why would I move towards that? That's what we don't talk about. Imagery doesn't just sit in your mind. It shapes your decision. It shapes your desires. It shapes what you move towards. It also shapes what you avoid. So now there's conflict. Part of me wants ease, and then part of me wants stability. Part of me wants life that feels whole, but another part of me has already been taught all of that stuff that you're asking for, you got to pay for it. There's a cost to that. So now I'm divided. Should I strive for that or not? And we already said in the beginning, a house divided against itself will not stand. So we have to bring clarity back. And that comes with curiosity. Because when you take that scripture literally, we miss the essence. Make it about money instead of asking, what is it actually revealing? Because metaphysically, and I know y'all don't like when I say that word, but I say it anyway, and I say it with my chest. This was never about what you have. It's about what has you, the attachment, the weight, the division within. It's about being so consumed externally that you can't access yourself internally. And when you miss that, you move out of alignment. And all things, you move further away from that. So let's bring us back. Because rags was never just about being broke. Rags were worn, torn, out of order. So metaphysically, rags is when your inner world is misaligned, and riches was never just about money. It was about more access. But we reduced all of that to something external. And that's why that luxurious life people think they're living ain't it. This is why you can see these people that got everything, and then we see them unaliving themselves, and we try to figure out why they doing these things. Because it ain't it. I lived it. How do you know? I lived it. I had access. I had the ability. I could walk into a place, know what I wanted, and walk out with it. I've owned rental houses. I've owned luxury vehicles, multiple at a time, 2 and 3 at a time, and still felt out of alignment, still felt pressure, still felt like something wasn't adding up because nothing inside of me was in order. So I had to ask myself a different question. If I can have everything on the outside and still feel like I'm lacking, then what does riches actually mean? Answer that for me. What does riches actually mean? And that's what we're really unpacking. When they say, I don't chase, I attract, that's what we're talking about. Because luxury was never meant to be chased, it's experienced. When nothing inside of you is out of place, you're tuned right into that frequency. That we talked about love earlier. We talked about peace earlier. Somebody said joy earlier. You got to be tuned right into the right frequency. You have to be dialed in properly to experience those things. But when you're out on the frequency of fear, you ain't experiencing love. Love and fear can't exist in the same space. And it can't. Let's make this real simple. This isn't just spiritual. This is practical too. I was watching something the other day. And it was an experiment. They took 3 apples. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. They had took 3 apples. I'm going to put this one on your screen over here. You guys may not can see it, but if you can't, go onto YouTube on It Starts With You, you'll be able to see it. But I'm going to show this to you over here on Facebook. I want you guys to see this. I'm working out the kinks so I can make sure everybody on TikTok and TikTok land can see my screen shares too, moving forward. I'm going to get it together so we can make sure that we don't miss anything. So they took these 3 apples in this experiment. One of these apples they talked to negatively. One of the apples they ignored it. And the other apple they poured into it, with intention. They were saying, I love, I give you love. They spoke all life into this. And over time, each of those apples reflected, what it was exposed to. Let me see if I can share this one with you guys so you guys can see it. Let me turn it this way. I hope you guys can see that. But these is what the apples look like. This one was the one that they they spoke negatively to. The one in the middle was the one they ignored. The one here on this end was the one that they spoke life into. And in this experiment, each of those apples reflected what it was exposed to. We've been taught that what we think, what we say, what we're exposed to doesn't really matter. That's a lie. That we can just pray about it and it's good. That is just thoughts, that is just words, that is just energy. We can, celebrate. We can celebrate it just because. But look at those apples. They didn't just become what they were by accident, and neither do you. They became what they were by what they were consistently fed. And I'm saying that to say, what are you consistently feeding yourself? What does your environment look like? We've unpacked that too. Dr. Simatawa came in and held some beautiful space and gave us the utopia, the environment. What are you feeding yourself? What are you eating? What are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your spirit? This is some beautiful work, family. Religion, when it keeps the focus external, it feeds the same way those apples were fed, consistently repeating, shaping the outcome. Those stories that give you, and then they take you, and then they tell you to take them literally. Let me take this off your screen. And you don't gain the understanding of the essence of what they mean. Now you're over here and you got all these things planted, these images planted, it creates fear, that pressure and the disconnection instead of clarity and peace because I'm confused. I don't know what this means. And that matters because this is our lives. These are the stories that constantly get repeated over and over. These are the lies that we're told about Christmas and Easter and all the things. And they are only given on surface level. Family, these things shape how you see reality. And I already know somebody in the back got their mouth all in their feelings. They all got their mouth out. What you talking about, Ty? I don't know what that means. It don't say that. These things don't really happen. Let's take a look-see. Because Ty's going to always tell you, debunk it with verified information. What does it look like in your life? And we're going to slow down so we can break this down to the lowest denominator. Shout out to Dr. Simatawi. We're going to break this down to the lowest denominator so that we can see the very thing that Ty is talking about. Because Ty don't just pull it from anywhere. So I'm going to tell this story to demonstrate a point. So Brother Paul was speaking to this group of people, right? He was on them because they were taking things literally like we do today. They wanted to hold on to the law, to the rituals that they were doing externally, the things that they were keeping up externally, but they didn't want to go within. At that time, go ahead and read it. It's in Galatians 4:24 if you want to unpack it. But be sure to read what comes before and what comes after. That's what we fall short because we don't like to read. But that's not what we do over here on this Stars With You. We make sure that we read and we overstand not just on the physical, but a metaphysical beyond the physical. But anyway, they wanted to look at things externally as if it was the truth. They believed that by following the rules, by staying tied, to what was written, it made it right. So Paul told them, stop all this foolishness. Those are my words, but he did tell them, cut it out. And he told them about the story of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar and their sons that had been passed along from their great grandmothers. And the story had been told over and over again from their high priest or whoever they got it from at that time. It was a real story to them, real history to them, according to the text. And he burst their bubble. He says, all this shit is an allegory. He didn't say that. He said, all of it is an allegory. What does that mean, Ty? It didn't really happen. That's what it means. It did not really happen. But forget that. Let me put you on to what it represents. They were arguing over something that they were taking literal. Who belongs here? Who's qualified? Who's right? And while they were arguing, Paul says, stop all that arguing. You're missing the point. Those stories that was passed down from your grandmama and them is symbolic. This is about what's happening within you. Go and read it. Welcome in. Go and read it. Do not take my word for it. Go read it. I know it hurts your feelings. But what do we say? That discomfort that we're feeling right now, we're going to question it. Why is this feeling this way to me for Ty to say this? But this is what happens when we don't read. So just take a deep breath. We want to bring ourselves, we want to center ourselves back into the space. Because I want to tell you what the text is really telling you. This is symbolic. It's layered. And it's pointing to something deeper. But if nobody ever tells you that, and you only receive it literally, then you don't get the meaning. You only get an image in your head of whatever memory you can attach to it. And that image becomes the experience in your body. So now instead of peace, you carry that pressure around. Not because that's what, was intended, but because that's how it was given to you. And once it gets repeated year after year, tradition after tradition, it doesn't just stay a story, it becomes a lenses, and you are walking around with these lenses on, looking at life this way. Somebody said earlier that you carry in your heart. And that's what happens. You're carrying that around in your heart. And now you're living through it. And over time, just like those apples, you don't become what's true. You become what you're consistently fed. So if you're operating saying, I'm not worthy, I'm a wretch, I sin and I fall short, you become what you're consistently fed. Period. So let's bring it back time. If your thoughts are consistently tearing you down, if your words don't match what you say you want, if your actions are consistent, if what you consume daily is out of balance, what do you think you're becoming? That's what we're here for, beloved. To make sense out of the things that we can't make sense out of. And when the things connect, I love it when it comes together. That's what we're here to do. We're here to make sense of the things that we can't make sense of. What do you think you're becoming? That's the rag. All those things. That's the rag. Thank you. I know y'all thought I got off topic, but I didn't. I have not moved from it. Everything over here is going to connect. Not because you don't have anything, but because something within you is divided, pulled in different directions. But riches looks different. What is that? What is so different about it, Ty? Clear thoughts, aligned words, speaking life, intentional action, nourishing consumption. What you eat is just nourishing to your body. Everything works together for your good. That's wholeness. And when that happens, something shifts, not on the outside, but on the inside of you. When I started changing the inside of me, people on the outside of me seen the reflection outside. I was no longer walking around. People could see my eyes. People could see it in my skin. People could see it in my life. They could see it in the light that shined from me. Now let's take this a step deeper, because this doesn't just show up in apples. Like I said, it shows up in us. What you just saw is how we operate. Because self-destructive behavior is a thing. It's not always loud or extreme. Sometimes it's quiet. It shows up in quiet ways. You work against yourself every day. How do we do that, Ty? Putting yourself down, believing you're not enough, sabotaging opportunities, ignoring what you need, choosing what harms you even when you know better. That's self-destructive, and most people don't realize that they're doing it. We don't realize that we're doing it. Let me say that I didn't realize that I was doing it. And that's powerful, because it happens when you do it to yourself. That negative self-talk, it doesn't break you overnight. It's a process. That's why they say, give me your children so they can start early. Working on your kids from the time that they learn how to, teaching them in school, reinforcing it there. It's a process, a consistent pattern of what it was exposed to. Even when you think I ain't paying attention, I'm ignoring something. That doesn't thrive either, because, welcome in, family. Because of the absence of attention, it leaves you with neglect. But when you start nurturing that thing, you can remain whole. Family, many of us have been conditioned into patterns that mirrors that first apple that I showed you. Not on purpose. I'm not saying that you're doing it purposeful, but through what you were taught. And when certain teachings are taken in without balance, you're working against yourself. So ask yourself, Ty, what have you been consistently feeding yourself that's been quietly working against you? This is the internal work. This is the internal work, because until we start answering these questions, you won't just struggle on the outside. You will spend your whole life divided. Family, this doesn't just affect what you do. It shapes how you see yourself. So now certain mindsets are forming, and you don't even realize where it came from. You start feeling like you're not enough, like you always have more to do, like you have to prove something just to be seen. You feel guilty. Even if you take a rest, I'm going to take a load off, I'm going to take a day off, and you feel guilty about it. You feel uncomfortable when things get calm. You don't trust peace because you're so used to that pressure. You start believing the struggle is real. That ease has to be earned. That something always has to be wrong. And not without even knowing it. You reject the very thing you say you want. You say you want peace. But when it shows up, it feels so familiar, you're running off. We'll sit up and say, you know what? He too nice. So you question it, you disrupt it, you go back to, what feels normal. And what feels normal is what's causing all the havoc in your life. That's what happens when something has been wired into you over time. Family, we have to go back to the origin because the origin shows you the balance. It's what helps us learn what restoring, renewing, when your thoughts support you, when your words speak life, when your actions are intentional, when what you consume nourishes you, you can move back into wholeness. That's where the magic happens. That's when you can move from those rags to riches. And that, my friend, is the goal. So since you all know what we've been unpacking, what are we supposed to be looking for, Ty? Thank you for asking. Look at the examples, not the story. So when they give you and they feed you this information, yes, I'm ready to reach my goal. Peace. And I stand with you when you say that. And they say where two or more agree, he should be in the midst. That's what it says. So we're going to start paying attention to the example. Ashe. Why is that important? When you take a look at the life, the example is there with Jesus, with Jesus, with whoever you look to. The example is there. But for Jesus, he was born in a manger. He wasn't surrounded by wealth. He wasn't introduced through power. And most people hear that and either romanticize it or dismiss it. But if we slow down, what it's actually showing you, it's not about being poor. It's not about lacking. It's about being free from the pressure of identity, status, and image. Because when you start from a place where nothing defines you, nothing owns you, there's no image to protect, there's no status to maintain, there's no pressure to perform, there's space. What is that space for? It's to move, it's to grow, it's to become. It's a space of becoming. That's the example. And if you follow the life, you'll see it wasn't centered on money. It wasn't centered on things, but truth. On being right in relationship within. And all things are that are ma'at. Family, the moment something on the outside of you defines you, it begins to take control over your life. That's what it keeps pointing back to. Not what you have, but what has you? What has a chokehold on you? I know in life we have so many things, and I've dealt with things that had chokeholds on me. But in the world, what did it say? Be in the what did it say? Be in the world, but not of the world. You could be in the world and still not be controlled by it. That's what that means. You can have things and those things not have you. So those stories were given. We were never meant to take them at face value. They were meant to be understood, to show you the real riches has nothing to do with what starts outside of you. And everything to do with what you're aligned with. And when you miss that, you end up chasing the image instead of becoming the example. So now the question becomes, what am I missing? And more importantly, am I even looking in the right place? Because we've been taught to measure riches by what I can touch. I need to be able to touch it, what we can show. But what if the thing that's missing is not out there at all? What if it's internal? What if the kingdom is really, really within you? So now we have to shift the focus to a different angle from what I have to what's happening with me. What am I thinking when no one's around? What am I saying to myself when things don't go right? How am I moving when I feel pressure? What am I feeding myself on a daily basis? Because if I'm honest, you have everything externally in line and still internally divided. And we said it before, a house divided against itself will not stand. And I know I've been waiting on this because I know some of you may be thinking, wait a minute, Ty, how is that possible? Because you tell us all the time that we would know the unseen things from the things that are seen, including the Godhead. You would know them by their fruits. That's what you tell us all the time, Ty. So if I have a house, if I have the car, the lifestyle, aren't those aren't those my fruits? Aren't those the things that are good, right? Doesn't that mean I'm good on the inside? One would think that. But we're going to slow this thing down one more time. Because we're not just looking at physical things. We're going to unpack the goal is to be full, whole, and complete. Because having something and being at peace within yourself, they are not the same, sis. Brother, they are not the same. Are you aware of that? That you can build a life from pressure, from fear, from trying to prove something, from not telling, or not feeling like you're enough. You can build a life from that. A large percentage of our Black households are either in debt or don't have enough wealth to feel stable. So think about that. You can have a job, you can have the car, the responsibilities, and still be under pressure every single day. That is not luxury. You're dealing with survival. And if that's the place it's coming from, then what you have on the outside is not a reflection of peace. Let's make it simple. Just because something looks good doesn't mean it's good for you. My grandmother used to tell us that all the time. Just because it looks good to you don't mean it's good for you. That feeling is your internal signal. It's your body, your mind, your spirit. Think about it like this. You can have the job, but if you feel tired and unhappy every morning to go to it, you can have the nice things and still feel empty inside. So yes, those are results, but results don't always mean peace. Here's the difference. One comes from pressure and the other comes from peace. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in your life. When it comes from pressure, you feel like you're always having to keep going. You can't relax. You can't take a break. I got to keep going. If I take off the day, I ain't going to get paid. Even when things look good, your body is still tense. Your mind is still running. You still feel like if I stop, everything falls apart. So you keep pushing because you got to hold it together. Now watch this, because your text shows us this. Jesus said that you're like whitewashed tombs. beautiful on the outside, but inside full of dead bones. I know what that means now. What does it mean, Ty? The tomb looks clean. It looks put together. It looks right. But inside of it, something is not alive. Something is not at peace. That's why I love it over here when it starts with you with Ty. Because she gives us the metaphysical thing where I can understand what it was saying. Because that was talking about you. You know, I've seen people, when I used to go out and I used to hang out, I used to go to the bar and meet people, I may have befriended people and they show up dressed to the nines, go into their house, go into their homes, and it's chaos, like stuff everywhere. And I'm just like, how? That's what it's talking about. Same thing, same theory. This peace that I have, what do they say? Cleanliness is next to godliness, because it shows up. It shows that peace that you have. It's about movement. You still build, you still show up, but it feels different because you can breathe. You can pause. You can step away and nothing collapses. You're not holding it together by force. It's whole. That's the difference. So let's ask some questions. Do I just look put together, or am I actually at peace within? That's different. That difference is everything. When it comes from peace, you still do things, but you're calm doing it. You know how to say, my gift will make room for me because I'm at peace with it. And all of us heard that and thought it meant doors would just open, things would just happen, life would just come together. But pay attention, your gift doesn't make room for you when you're operating from pressure. It makes room for you when you're in alignment. When you're not overthinking, not overworking, not overgiving just to be seen. That's when it flows. That's when it feels natural. That's when it actually shows up in support. It doesn't drain you. That's when it feels beautiful. That's when you can say, what I have is coming from a healthy place. Some things come from fear. Something comes from trying to prove something. And you can know the unseen things from the things that are seen. Thank you. But let me say something about that fruit that y'all talking about. Because that sounds right. You got the fruit. Because true fruit is not just what you can see. It's how you feel, how you move, how you show up when nobody's watching. That's what tells you if you're in the right position. And if those don't match, then something is still divided. And that's what we're learning to see clearly. This is how it shows up in everyday life. You can have all the things. You can go around family and they treat you however, they want to. They cross the boundaries. They say things that don't sit right with you. You're being disrespected or overlooked and you stay. And you go along to keep the peace. You go to church and you're giving. Thank you. You show up. You're doing what you've been told is right. But you're looking around. I'm looking around. I'm looking here and there. And the leadership is living comfortably while you're going home wondering, how am I going to pay my rent today? Do I pay this bill or that one? And now you're stressed out, you're anxious, you're in survival mode. And you have to start asking yourself some questions. If I have all these things, or if they have all those things externally, why do I feel like this? And we have to start being honest with ourselves. So I asked earlier at the beginning, I'm making good time, I'm almost done. I asked earlier, how do I shift? How do I move from the rags into riches? I asked that in the beginning. Instead of thinking of things that are tangible, I got you. Awareness is one thing, but alignment takes practice. So now we have to bring it back to the body, because the body keeps the score. It's your truth indicator. It will tell you when something is off before your mind even processes it. And Pretty, you were saying this earlier, your health, that high blood pressure, that sickness, those ailments in your body, that pain that you can't get rid of, shows up in your body. The last few weeks, I resonate with the lady with the issue of blood that they talk about in the text, because I was that lady. Blood transfusions, I could never figure it out. And Dr. Simatari came into my life, and he started putting me up on, these natural herbs, how to stop, what I was putting in my body was important. And I started listening and I started paying attention to my body. And the other day, I went and got my blood checked at the doctor, and I was waiting for the results, and he paid attention to me, and he was seeing that I was yawning a lot. And he said, Pooh, that's what he called me. That's when I know he ain't mad at me. Pooh, get back on your teas, get back on your herbs. Make sure that you're not, I think you're falling off because you're yawning a lot. And anybody that has ever had issues with low iron or low blood issues, you're tired and you're weak all the time. They did my blood work. The lady said the word blood transfusion. And I was like, y'all, the devil is a liar. And I won't. But in the process of this, I've learned my body. I'm learning my body, because it's not a done deal, because I'm still learning. And I know what to do when that happens. And I have to pay attention, because I've ignored and I dismissed it for a really long time, all throughout my life. For such a long time. Going to the doctor after doctor, pill after pill, try this, try that, always giving me a treat. I'm going to treat this. Never a cure. This thing is not random, family. That's something within you that's not agreeing. That was something within me that's not agreeing. So now the work becomes learning how to listen. Because this is not just a concept for me. This is something I've had to practice. There have been moments where everything on the outside said, keep going, even though you're tired. Keep working, keep showing up, keep saying yes to people, even though you mean no. But my body was saying, no, ma'am, I'm going to sit you down. I would drive home from work, and I would be so tired that I would drive off the road. felt it, and my first instinct was just to keep going, push through it, override it, ignore it, call it, pray about it, be strong. Because that's what I was taught. My grandmother taught me I'm a dark piece of leather and I'm well put together, so you don't get it by any means necessary. But every time I did that, I paid for it later. In my body, in my energy, in my peace. So I had to learn something new, how to listen to it. You're yawning a lot, Pooh baby. Sometimes I don't see it all. And listening is not always the easiest thing to do. Matter of fact, it's hard as hell. It's hard as hell. And my body is bougie. It won't, like the stuff the doctor prescribes, I have such bad adverse reactions. I just be like, I don't want it. I can't, because I feel even sicker taking it. Put this ointment on your arm, my arm just break out. I can't do the things. I have to listen to my body and do what's natural. Because sometimes what your body is telling you goes against everything you used to doing. So sometimes we got to start saying no. I know it's hard. When you normally say yes, no. That's a complete, I tell anybody, no is a complete sentence for me. A no. I think in the last 6 or 7 years, I said no more than I have ever in my life. It means slowing down when you feel pressure to keep going. It means choosing yourself when you've been taught to choose everything else first. Know your text says there's a time and a place for everything. It's a time to rest and it's time to go. We don't even take the time to rest. It's a time for peace. It's a time for chaos. All we know is chaos. That part. And that's where Ma'at comes in. Ma'at is order. Ma'at is balance. Ma'at is truth in action. So that means if I need to rest, I need to take a rest day. I just need to see about me. You can create order in your life while you can't create order in your life while ignoring what's out of order within you. Ma'at teaches real balance starts when you honor what's true for you. Everybody else is going to call that selfish. I'm going to call that you can't. Dr. Simitar would say you can't pour from an empty cup. Not what you've been taught to override. It's when you think, what you say, what you do, and what you feel all match. Nothing is forced, ignored. Nothing is pushed down. So how do we get there? I told us earlier, we're going to have to start taking, let's pause. Before you keep pushing, pause. Sit with it. Before you ignore how you feel, pause and ask yourself, is this pressure or is this causing me peace? Who peace am I keeping? Is it mine? Because every time you choose what's true for you, even when it's uncomfortable, you come back into order, back into alignment. You move from those rags into those riches. That was the topic tonight. And over time, that changes everything, because now your life isn't built on what you've been putting up with. It's built on what actually feels right, what actually is righteous. That's luxury at its finest. Not stuff, not appearances, but a life where nothing inside of you is out of place. So now we've walked through all of these things. At this point, you have to be honest with yourself. Ty can't do it for you. This is your journey. You have to be honest with you. This isn't about what's out there. It's about what's in here. And this is where most people is going to stop and log off and say, I can't do it. Because it's easier to fix how things look than to face what's real. It's easier to play the part than to become whole. So let me ask you, and I have to ask these questions. Can you face what's real without turning away? Can you look at your life and tell the truth about it? Can you look at your life and say, I'm happy with how my life is right now? Not the version that sounds good or the version that people accept or the mask that we masquerade in. Not that, but what actually is there. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, everything will start to change. Because what you don't face, it doesn't disappear. It doesn't. We talked about the goat. No matter how far you take it down, take it to Timbuktu, I guarantee it's going to come back. It's going to bring 7 more with it. And it's going to show up in your patterns. It's going to show up in the next man you pick. It's going to show up in your next relationship. It's going to show up in that new friendship that you make. The same cycles over and over again, different faces until you face it, until you see it, until you take responsibility for it. And this isn't about being perfect, even though perfection is possible. This isn't about getting everything right. This is about becoming whole, bringing all parts of you together. So no more pretending. So no more putting on the mask. No more living divided. Because luxury, real rags to riches, it's not what you have, it's what you no longer have to hide from. It's the peace that comes when nothing inside of you is warring within yourself. So now the question is not what did you learn tonight? The question is, what are you willing to see? What are you willing to change? Because everything that's yours and whatever you come up with those questions doesn't start outside of you. It starts with you. I got through just in time. So I'm going to leave you guys with a quote tonight. Tonight we've unpacked a beautiful teaching about rags to riches. If you missed any part of it, go on. It starts with you on YouTube, or go onto Facebook and look me up so that you can get the whole, and you can rewatch it, you can share it, whatever you desire to do. Keep it for your own personal library so you can go back and say, this is the thing, this is what I needed, this is what I need to hear, I need this reinforced. Whatever that is, do it. Do it now. So I want to end with a quote. He who cannot bear to see himself clearly will spend his life escaping what he could not transform. Until you make the unseen within you seen, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Hotep.